Hello and welcome back to Stranded Deep. We find ourselves once again on this island in the island editor and the map editor in the cartographer, whatever you want to call it. We are calling it everything, and we have been, well, I'm going to say we've been a bit naughty in that we have been working on the island between the last episode and this episode. Here is another little roundhouse with another set of tiny little steps in front of it, but that's not something that was planned. That was a result of the bug that I showed you guys last episode, which happened around here. Well, it keeps happening. So I'm having to save a lot more regularly because it is just punching holes through the map. Then I'm having to close the recording. Then I'm having to go back and go back to whatever the last save was. And even though I got backups of the map and everything, it's becoming a little bit more common and a little bit more frustrating. So I don't know if something's changed or simply because we're trying to do too much on this map. There is not that much, or there are not that many items on this map in terms of things like cliffs and trees and various bits and pieces. Well, I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, it's not like we're using the entire square or anything. We're using a very small area of this entire square to make quite a detailed island, but yeah, that bug and the way it shows itself, if you go to terrain and if you don't get a blue brush marker around your cursor, you probably have that bug, and if you left click, you're going to punch a hole straight through Cthulhu's bedroom. So you need to pretty much get out. Well, you need to restart the game at that point. Just going back to the cartographer and going back into the map, it might work for a little bit, but definitely the problems I've been having need a software restart. So that's becoming a bit more of a problem. The other problem I had last time I tried to do recording was the fact that the audio died. So I don't know what's causing that or what the problem with that is. I don't have visual feedback with the recording software that I'm using. It's just basically push button, get bacon. So I tried yesterday recording for 2 hours, and all I have to show for it is this second little ruined roundhouse. It's slightly smaller than the first. It's got a slightly different fire pit in the middle, but it's basically the same design. I put a little fruit tree in there, so there's a reason for going in there. Put another pine tree in there as well. Now, what I want to do is kind of, and what you guys won't know, because I explained it to nobody as the recordings all got trashed, is this area here in front of us should be the living area from the old Iron Age settlement. This area here, the flatter area at the top, can be for, I don't know, building a house maybe, or putting farms down or something, bearing in mind that we probably won't be able to build over these cliffs. So I think building material doesn't like going on rocks. I can't remember. It might have been changed. Don't know. We'll find out, certainly. Or we can work around it. That's not a problem. Yeah, so this area here should be for a forest. We're going to forest this in. But I do want the ruins of the last civilization that was here. Now, when was the last civilization here? Well, anywhere between 1200 to 1 century BC or BCE. Actually, I had to look that up. BC is before Christ and BCE is before Common Era. So if you hear that listening to history podcasts, then that's what that means. And CE is Common Era and AD is Anno Domini in the year of our Lord. Well, they mean pretty much the same thing. Nice of that tree to catch up with its LOD as I'm doing the explanation. Right, fine. So what are we doing at the moment? Well, we have a lot of detailed areas of the map, and hopefully I don't need to go through this again because I keep going through it. But we have a little mangrove swamp without mangrove trees. They're not in the game. I don't even know if the models are still in the game, but they're just not available to us. I think that's probably the case because a lot of what's here has some sort of functionality, like the palm trees have the ability you can climb them, which is probably why you can only have them as a vertical entity, because otherwise it might interfere. If you put them at an angle, it might interfere with players climbing them. We have pines, which were added later on. So there's a lot of stuff here. Some acts as sources of food, like these little shrubby shrubs, and some is just complete decoration. Now, Omar, after the last episode pointed out the palm trees do actually grow further away from water than we've been putting them, and it's basically me being dumb. In the context of the game, I'm thinking, hey, you know what? There's no there are storms have been added, but there's no visible sign of wind. The trees don't get buffeted around or anything. So we think, oh, you know what? The coconuts drop and then a tree appears nearby, or they float around in the sea or whatever. No, he said, no, they can be found inland quite far. Animals and wind and whatnot will push coconuts around. And I'm like, oh yeah, and so will people. So there can be legacy vegetation on this island from a very long time ago. And people, the effect of people on the island as well. I mean, we got a submarine here, which we still need to sort of tweak. This kind of rock formation does need to have something done with it. So this episode, I think what we're going to do is probably work up here, I think. There was a question, why do you keep using the same brush, the soft brush, or occasionally the hard edge brush? But essentially these two brushes and not any of these things like the explosion brush or the petri dish brush. That is because I do a lot of work in Photoshop. Oh boy, I've explained this many times, but no one's been able to hear it. It's so sad. So basically I do... what am I? That is an interesting question. It's one of my insurers asked last time I insured the motorbike. And they were like, hey, what do you do as a job? And I'm like, I can't really explain it. I am a photo retoucher. I think that's the term. This only goes north or south. This brush is useless to us. It means nothing to me, O Vienna. Square brush, no. So we're going to have to use the circular brush for this. What I'm going to do, I'll explain it momentarily. So yeah, I retouch photos for a living. That's what I do. I work for a large national portrait and a group photography company, and we clean up things like if someone's got their fingers up, or they've moved their head, or they've got reflections on glasses, or they're a bit sweaty on the day because they had the flu. Then we clean up. Essentially, what we do, we don't do Kim Kardashian level of butt editing. We essentially won't want that raised. Yeah, cool. What we do is we edit images in a way. I'm hoping this is going to work. Yeah, it's going to work. Okay. We edit images in a way that you won't be able to tell that they've been edited once we're done with them. So that's the thing. That's the thing that we do. And it's like, well, what's the point? Well, the point is so that people get images and then they say, oh, that's me. That's me. That's exactly what I see in the mirror or whatever, without any sort of any mistakes on the day or any issues. Maybe it was raining hard and we need to get rid of the rain, or maybe the group photography, they needed to change the background because the background was a building site. So stuff like that. And I tend to mostly use a soft edge brush at 40% hardness. That's my Jimmy Jam. I can't leave it at that. Just change the brush size up using. We've got dragon's teeth going on here. Huh. Like tank traps. This is a problem with this game. This mesh just isn't fine enough for very small details. Sort of brushing in the terrain. So I tend to use a very soft brush, a 40% hardness, and then for things like masking and stuff. And it's just what I'm used to. And then square brackets to make brushes go bigger and smaller. Control Z will go one step back. It will undo, but it won't. This is not working. What I'm trying to do is build a. So essentially, we have these houses, and the houses are fine, but Iron Age peoples would have had access to fresh water, so they would have had things like fish ponds. A lot of the wooden structures would have disappeared over time, and what we're left with is the stone and the effect they had on the landscape. So things like raised areas here and here. This would have been probably man-made around these stone circles. Same thing here. If you want to keep sheep or something on an island, in fact, Stone Age, they wouldn't probably have used sheep for. They would have used sheep instead of cows, probably. I'm a YouTuber, so I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just a person who makes videos on YouTube. But always check your facts afterwards, kids. But basically, they would have used sheep instead of cows. They wouldn't necessarily have used them for milk because milk was... Well, people are naturally lactose intolerant. That's one of the problems with human beings. So you need to generate lactase, which is made in children, like babies and stuff. And after you've weaned a baby, after you've done like solid food and stuff, then you don't tend to, or they didn't tend to have milk or use it for much stuff. They probably did use it for things. I don't know, making hot chocolate. Maybe not. I'm trying to make a low wall or an earthen division in the ground, and it's not really working very well because of this very, very sort of sharp edge. And I don't think smoothing is going to help here. So what we're going to do is just have it kind of low down, as low as possible. And what we might be able to do is soften it a bit. So if you go around the UK, and I say the UK is kind of Great Britain, there's so many things that you can call this country. Let's finish up with Iron Age people. They might have had sheep. Sheep were kind of the popular livestock, in that they would have been kept mainly for meat. They wouldn't have had as long a coat as they do these days. So that's a thing to kind of bear in mind. Mostly meat, I think, instead of cues. So we're just softening this up. I'm just making a little earthen wall thing here. There's the edge of maybe a paddock or something. There we go. It's almost imperceivable. So we're going to use some rocks as well, just to help mark this out. We're going to be using this. No, we're using this one. Which one's this? This is the one with a huge split in the side, which is kind of neat because we can roll it over. We can press T, we can bring it up, and then so we are creating something which is probably going to get lost in a forest as we're creating it. So a lot of what we're doing is eventually going to get buried in, I guess, cheese. Why am I thinking of cheese now? Ooh, I don't know. It's going to get buried in the woods. So it's kind of a sinister thing to think about. We're going to use these just to say, hey, there's kind of a division in the world. So we'll do that, and we'll do this. In fact, no. Press C. Press C, get bacon. Cheese and bacon. That is... okay. Although, having said that, I think in the fridge currently is not bacon. It is corn mycoprotein, which is made from mushrooms. So that's the thing. Not actually vegetarian. I just kind of like mixing up the diet somewhat. And mushroom-based protein seems kind of a neat thing. Why not? We're just... what are we doing? We're rambling, and we're making a heck of a mess on the landscape. This is a heck of a mess. Let's be fine. Let's be fine. We'll rotate this so it doesn't quite look the same as the other one, but not... okay. So the wind and rain has come along and just kind of moved this stuff around. In Cornwall, that was what I was going to say. In Cornwall, we have something called a Cornish hedge, and that is a granite wall which is covered with earth, and you have these plants and things, brambles and heather and whatnot, grown up over it. The thing about that is, if you're driving around in your car, and the Cornish really did like putting these things pretty much everywhere, you may say, hey, I'm driving between two very tall, very suspiciously dense hedges. I wonder what happens if a car comes the other way. Oh, I'll just pull over into the hedge a little bit. No, you're not going to do that because it's actually a granite wall in there. And then you rip the front of your car off, which is, it's fun. It's fun. So we're just sort of putting this stuff down. I don't think I like that, but this is fine. This is absolutely fine because we can play around with this stuff. I don't really want these. I don't want it to be too uniform. I tell you what we'll do. On the ends, we'll hit R and rotate it. How about that way around? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's fine. You know what? We'll just let serendipity sort it out. Okay, and then we'll... What did we just clone? The C key is wonderful. If you need to clone on the keyboard, press C, and you just make a new object, and then you'll be like, "Ooh, I've just made a new object. It's just really fun, no?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, you did. You're brilliant. I couldn't have done it better myself." So we're just making these little walls here. It's not a lot. It's not even perceptible. Is it imperceptible? Imperceivable. We're just using the same rock, in fact, but we're rotating it around so that we're not getting sort of that pattern repeat problem that you get when you just grab stuff from the side of the screen. So it's like we'll put that here. We'll kind of rotate it a bit. Now they would have used wood. They have access to wood. What would they have used? I'm guessing willow would have been a big thing, but that's not going to be here. I was about to say, oh, it's a European thing, but I'm pretty sure willow grows in other parts of the world as well. That would be very. I just think, what of me would that be? Narrow-minded? No. Stupid? Probably. There's a word and I'm missing it. Where you say something and it is wildly... Sometimes I will say something and it will be deliberately inaccurate. Because why not? Why not? It's nice to say, to sort of challenge people. And some people will take things at face value and some people say, hang on a minute, I'm going to look that up. And if somebody goes, oh, I'm going to look that up and learn something, that's actually a good thing. I like that. I like learning things. I like falling into a wiki hole. Yeah, even though Wikipedia is kind of a dangerous thing to... you can't trust everything on Wikipedia. Certainly can't trust everything you read. You have to make up your own mind. It's like history. You read a lot about history. What is that? Is that a tree? Oh, no, it's a cliff. Okay, fine. So, yeah, you sort of read things up on the internet. It's like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then you've got to do a little bit of research. That's where peer-reviewed papers come in. Yeah. What are we doing? We're pressing T and we're jamming you into the ground. Ah, okay. That's nice. That's nice. Are we leaving this cliff here? Yeah, it's kind of jamming out here, though. That is a problem. I think that was a problem we identified last time. It was way too far out. If we're going to be putting like housing and stuff here, but then if we bring it out too far, then we have an issue. We can always rotate it down a little bit. Keeping it on the verticals, because these vertical lines, it's like, if we just jam it like that, suddenly the rock structure changes violently. And I'm like, I don't really like that. I don't... That's not how it should look. You can get some degrees of movement, I guess. I mean, some places in the world, just along the beach from where I am, the rock does do some weird stuff. Really weird stuff. Kind of weird science there. There we go. So I just wanted something to edge the very steep sides of this, but not kind of poke out there. So if I just grab that and move it, yeah, that's better. So it's not poking into that area anymore. Can I pull it out a little bit? If I put it... Alright, okay, I was looking at this little green nubbin here. That's actually part of Cliff 6. And there's this bit here, and is that too sharp? But I don't think it'd be noticeable, to be honest. It's too noticeable. I'm going to push it back so it kind of disappears down a little bit. If we push it back... We're pushing it into that green area. We are. Pull it out. Okay, we have this area here, this little nubbin of rock kind of poking up, kind of awkwardly. So we're just going to hit the brush again. But before we hit the brush, we're going to save because All right, we got blue. So that's a thing. It's still blue. Amount is down, size is up. Fine. We're just going to raise that up just to get rid of that little nubbin of rock poking through. I want to be a tree. No, I want to be a little bit cautious about stuff like that. I mean, it'll be fine. We could leave it there and there'll be no problem with that. But yeah, basically, I think if we can fix it now while we see it, it's better off for us. So we've got this little gateway here. Would people have used gates and stuff? Don't know. We could always get in our DeLorean and go and ask them. I think that's a thing we could probably do. Small rock. Can we do something with this? This is kind of it's kind of a lot of guesswork here. So we're going to hit R. Do that. Let's rotate this around a little bit. Let's see what we got going on here. Boop. And then boop it in. Boop. 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 Is booping happening? Booping is definitely happening. It kind of looks a little uncomfortable. Let's get rid of you. See what else we've got kind of kicking around. We got these shoreline rocks. No. We got these big rocks. We got these cliffs. What's this going to look like? Oh boy, that's a big old rock. Okay. That's not going to help us out much, I'm afraid. It's not going to help us out much. What about this? Okay. This might actually work to our advantage. It's kind of big, and we can just press that, jump into the ground. It's got the verticality to work with us. Let's rotate so it's not really touching that cliff as much. Yeah, that's fine. It's not too bad. Just move this in, so we'll press T, move it in slightly. So we've got this kind of wall thing going on. It's raised up. We'll soften it up with a bit of... We'll soften it up with a bit of foliage and things, because it'll be in a forest anyway. So that's kind of cool. But we can use that as a boundary between forest and like meadow or grassland or whatever. Up the top. What's going on here? What is going on here? Right, this cliff can it go down? Oof. Can it rotate in? Can it be rotated in any way? A little bit. I'm just looking at this area here that's poking out. It might be a problem for us at some point in the future, but what we can do is we can make sure we've got the blue. I'm going to save again. You might think, hey, you're saving a lot. No, I'd rather do that than risk that bug biting us in the butt. I'd rather say, hey, kids, you know what? The bug's back. I'll catch you next time. And then I'll catch you next time. Rather than be like, oh no, I've just lost half an hour of recording. Or an hour of recording, because these things tend to be quite long. And I don't have that much time at the moment. Time is a bit of a premium when it comes to recording stuff for YouTube. It's one of those cases where life is, well, it's very busy. Very busy. Extraordinarily busy. One of the problems I have in real life is, well, I've got to get a new motorbike or a car. Dad's very... So, yeah, you won't know my dad unless you sort of roll in very specific circles. Very specific scientific circles that are to do with science. And probably circles, actually. Yeah, so he's like, oh, I think you should get a car because I've done the mathematics and I think your head will explode if you have an accident. And I'm like, thanks, Dad. That's, yeah, I get a motorbike and everything. But I just don't find cars that interesting to drive. They don't have like a glass cockpit, so you can't see out of them. The visibility on the inside is just not as much as I would want. And they just not that exciting. Compared to a motorbike, oh boy, it's like riding a missile. It really is quite fun. So what we're doing here is sort of brushing and going back. But because this is so steep, I'm trying to get this kind of a little bit closer to the old, to the rocks themselves to kind of give us options, maybe raise it up a bit. so that we can just kind of, if we do end up building up here, we give ourselves an extra sort of areas to build. There we go. I think the problem with clicking a lot with the old brush is that if that bug shows up and the blue disappears between your clicks, we ain't going to see it. So we're going to be a little bit more relaxed, a little less clicky, a little bit more relaxed. We can bring this up here. That's not a problem. So we'll bring it up, and then we end up with quite a defined ridge. As long as nothing down here is changing too much, that's fine. So it's very, very cautious and careful manipulation of the land. So that's fine. That's okay. There's some places like this where we're just not going to be able to do much with it. What about here? Not too bad, actually. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. That there is kind of odd. So it comes up and then it's like, whoop, hey, we've got a bit of a drop there. We could soften it off a bit without losing too much of the land. There we go. There we go. And what about up here? It's not too bad. Not too bad. Not too bad. Right, okay, so let's bring this up in here just to fill this little crevasse. One of the big problems you're going to have if you do a lot of work with cliff 6, which is this big long cliff, is that the if you put a lot together, you might end up with gaps between them where a player can fall through, and if a player falls through, they have no choice but to exit and restart the game session, because you might just get stuck. And then that's a bit of a problem. So yeah, a bit of a problem for the old gamey game. What's going on here? Objects. What are you doing? Talk to me. What are we doing here? So I've just noticed this kind of sliver of stuff. I'm just trying to work out what it's part of. I think it's part of this cliff. You know what? We're just going to hit the terrain brush. I'm going to do this. Let's erase it a little bit and just get rid of that. That's odd. Don't like it. Don't like it. Little touches like that. Just getting rid of something like that is satisfying, cathartic almost. So we've been using this soft brush, and this area up here has got little divots in the ground. It's got raises and stuff. And you know what? That's just for me. I just like that. So this area here is deliberately raised a little bit between one side of this kind of paddock divide and the other. It doesn't mean much. I mean, we've put it in. It's literally just like a little detail in the world that we've placed, but it'll even be softened up. But it's stuff like that. I like it. I like putting things like that in. So we're going to save again. Oh no, what are you doing? You're saving too much. Yep, well, we can't. I don't know if we can control S. Control S is normally save in most things. Because I need to do something up here. So we've got these round houses. We got the source of fresh water, which is over here. They would have built things like, paddocks. We've got some out there. They would have built fish ponds. They would have built middens, which are basically places to put all your refuse. In fact, we get a lot of information in history about ancient peoples from their middens, the things they throw away, because it tends to be these packages of preserved items, broken combs and what have you, pottery and various bits and pieces. We also need kind of a storage area, because if they were growing anything or they're farming anything or fishing anything, they might have had an area for storage. And these houses that we've given them aren't actually that big, but you build it to the size of what you need and what you can heat. So those are the two things. We got this little raised area here. These cliffs, I think, are kind of in their final form. This one here, this cliff 6 here, there, and there, those three are going to be removed at some point because they were just markers. So we've removed cliff 6 from there and there, but we've kind of reused them, repurposed them. So they're kind of pointing in a direction. But I think these ones will be removed once we've worked out what we need to do with here. This is very kind of awful little mound that has no real purpose. We need to do something with this as well. Maybe create a little story. Now we know we can't sort of manipulate the ground at a very granular level, but we can do something with that. So, up here, I think, is probably the best place for was thinking either another house or some sort of, midden. I'm wondering if we can use that brush, that really awkward long brush, that one. Huh. We've already saved, so that's not a problem. Let's change the size up, because I want basically like a slit trench. Let's do this. That's raise, that's lower. How much of the land is going to get pushed in if we do this? Now, if you've seen kind of Iron Age settlements or been to an Iron Age settlement, there's quite often these like slit trenches they've got, which would have linked from place to place. Certainly the one at Khan Uni has something like that. It's just curious, like a little curiosity, I guess. These things would have originally, let's do a re-terrain height from there. There we go. So we just kind of fill this in at about the same level. There we go, that's better. Rather than just kind of making it all different. Yeah, there's some like storage places, storage houses, which actually have stone roofs and various bits and pieces. It's curious the way that they did things. And there's essentially archaeology that seems to go nowhere, but would have gone somewhere originally. And we're just going to do that here. We're going to put in essentially a little storage trench or maybe a midden. But we have to work with what the game gives us in terms of basically the size of, I guess, the amount of land we can deform, or the sort of, what am I trying to think? Is these polygons or vertices that we can manipulate? So, yeah, it's a curious thing, but we're just going to do it. So I'm going to soften the edges up a little bit. I don't really need to because we're going to get some rocks in here. I feel better once we get the rocks out. You know, who gets the rocks out? We do. We need a big rock, or do we need little rocks? We're probably going to need little rocks actually to do this properly. This is going to be awkward because we only really have one squared off rock. All right, okay, fine. Well, we'll just use what we have and kind of deal with it the best we can. So we'll angle that face that way. We're going to drop it in, drop it back, rotate, and then lift up a little bit. And there we go. There we go. Probably do with some of the bigger cliffs. Not cliffs, rocks. That's too big. What was I looking at before? Big rocks. We need essentially something with a big flat side to it. We've got a lot of these rocks here that we've used in the not too distant past. Let's copy that, bring it up. That is interesting. Very interesting. And can we use it to our advantage? Okay, well, give it a shot. Let's do this. Hopefully, we can do something with it. Let's do that and that. Not quite what I'm going for. If we rotate it, what do we get? And then drop it down. All right. It's not the worst. Certainly not the worst. All right, fine. Okay, yeah, we might be able to do something with this. If we copy that, so clone it, and then move it along here. Okay. What if we rotate it? What happens if we do that, and then press T to bring it up, and then press R, and then press T. Sure. So we've got... there's something that I say a lot, actually. That comes from something called cabin pressure, which was a BBC radio play with Benedict Cumberbatch in it. So, yeah, that would have been probably, what was that, Zurich? No, that would have been a few episodes before Zurich. Yeah, just a little an aside. So what we're doing is, that's fine. So we're just kind of making this curiosity, essentially, like almost like a folly. And if you don't know what a folly is something that would have been made, in, I guess, Europe, but probably other parts of the world as well. And they were kind of buildings, towers or turrets, or even sort of castles, which had no real purpose. They were just kind of buildings that you would find on a country estate. And they were essentially something that was primarily decorative, ultimately super expensive. Tended to be super expensive, these things. So we're just kind of using what we've got. Can we do something with it? Can we make this a little bit more vertical? I don't know if we can. We can. We actually can. So we're just going to do that. You know what we're going to also do is get the old door out. Is it a misc? No, it's an item. Item B, C, D. Did I just go past it? C. And crude driftwood duct tape engine. Where's the door? It's a door. Structures probably. There it is. Boop. So it kind of gives us an idea of the player height. So, okay, here's a door. Oh, that's me in there. I'm the size of a door. Brilliant. Okay, so we'll get rid of that object. Fine. Oh, hey, look, I'm there. I'm a door. Okay, fine. We'll get rid of that. What about here? Oh, hey, look. Ooh, we're walking around like Jello. Yep. No, well, that's that. This area here. Yeah, it's big enough for a property, I think, of a certain size. And what about here? So we go, oh, hey, I wanted to run through there. It's a little bit narrow. Okay. What we can do is, I mean, it's not that narrow because obviously you've got to be able to pass through the door. But what we're going to do is use that as a kind of a marker for ourselves. That's kind of okay. I don't mind it being like that. Fine. The other thing we're going to do is hit up terrain. We don't want that brush anymore. We want the soft brush. We want the size to be a bit down, further down. There we go. I was thinking that disappeared then and the bug was back. So raise, just quietly hide the stuff on this side. And then maybe just quietly soften it as well. That's how you deal with that. That's how you deal with that. So, it's just we're just building a curiosity, a little folly. Follies don't need to be a tower in the middle of nowhere. They can be not a tower in the middle of nowhere. So, Paddocks and Follies. I'll probably call the episode that, actually. It won't mean anything to anyone except for us, who have gone and discussed it. By discussing it, I mean I've talked about it and people may or may not have listened. Don't know. Don't really know. So what we're doing is we are just finishing off the end of this thing. Pop that down there. Put that in. In fact, we could just rotate that and then press T, grab the blue. There you are. There's the blue. Press R and just do it from this kind of odd angle. There we go, press T, grab the green, grab the red, grab the blue. Okay, cool. These kind of vertical pieces are nice, so what I might do is just pull that out a little bit. Terrain, raise, without punching a hole in the ground. Oh, I did it. I'm genuinely nervous about using the terrain tool now. I keep saying it, but if it's going to be a problem. And I don't know what the problem is. I don't think it's a memory leak, because this computer has plenty of freaking memory. It has all the memory. I was like, I'm going to build a computer. How much memory does it need? All of the memory. By which I mean all currently of the usable memory. It might get expanded in the future, because why not? But there is... So when you're building a computer yourself, you build it to both a price point and you build it to what you need, because you can spend an awful lot of money on the most powerful machine in the world, but you won't ever use the power. It's once you go beyond a certain level, you tend to pay more for less, I think is the there's a kind of accepted idea there. So we're just putting the stuff in. Do we want to rotate that a little bit more? I think I do. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that's better. This has got a bit National Trust, actually, thinking about it. Because if this was a midden, then why would they made it? There might have been storage trench for stuff. Maybe wood, firewood in a pit. Maybe. Maybe they stored buckets here for the Volon god Bougie. That's a thing that they might have done. I think Bougie has his own website. That's something to look up if you are at all interested in Babylon 5. So we're going to rotate this round, press T, bring that down. Out. It's in the shadow of this tree. It's in the shadow of the tree. What is going on? Okay, we can help objects, narrate terrain. No, yeah, terrain. Terrain, cog. Let's change that. Change the time of day. Yeah, we can do that. So we'll just press R and then rotate that around a little bit more. T, bring it out so it's a bit more flat surface. Don't need massive. There we go. So if we remove the door now, I think we can probably get through this safely. And if we do fall in there and find we can't walk along it, then, we can always just jump out. It's not that high. What about putting something just on the end, just to say, hey, you know what? This is a thing, but here's something that's not quite as structured or organized. I want the green toggle. Give me the green toggle. Show me the green toggle. You can't handle the green toggle. The green toggle does not belong to you. All right. Well, okay, fine. And then we'll do the same thing here. Now, will we though? No. Should we do that? So here's a question that we need to ask ourselves, because there is a path here. And we are going to do something. We're going to remove this, but we're going to put maybe some rocks and stuff there. If we put this here, this will visually block off this area. So without it, it's just a bit of grass. With it, hey, don't walk over there. So we might not want to do that. Let's see what, let's do this instead. So instead of putting something across there, we kind of want to say, hey, there's a thing here, but you're still free to walk over there. That's fine. Nah. Now, is that the same as that? Is that exactly the same orientation? I don't think it matters too much because of how much it's poked into the ground. Okay, fine. I don't like it. I don't like it. It just doesn't feel right. Let's do this. Right. Let's jam that right into the ground. So we've got that extra kind of length to the trench itself, but yeah, that's better. It's better. It's subtle, but better. So yeah, I like that. It's a little sort of midden-y, trenchy thing. It's another structure to our little village. So we've got these two roundhouses. We've got this kind of structure here, which is kind of cool. We're going to put some plants and stuff around it to soften it. We've got a little paddock area up here, which again will soften it with plants and stuff, so it won't be so obvious that it's there. I tell you what, this is starting to really take shape. If we ignore this completely untouched area of the island, I'm still not entirely sure what to do here. Does there need to be a quarry? Would that have kind of been erased through time? Would coastal erosion have taken a lot of the island away? Would that be a reason for the islanders moving away? Or would it simply have been something like disease, or the lack of food, or a storm, or a tsunami or something? Don't know. We could turn it into play park, skyscraper. I don't know. We'll think about that. We'll leave our subconscious work on that. But you know what? For the time being, I'm going to have to leave it there. So if you're liking this series, definitely leave a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, leave a cheeky little subscribe. And you know what? you know what? I will catch you guys next time.